I'm Dr. Carol Francis, and in this class, I'm going to actually go through what it might be a little bit like for an individual to do therapy with me when I'm trying to shift them from only having the identification of themselves as a victim. And notice what I said. I'm not trying to shift them away from that. I'm just trying to say that's a part of them and we need to integrate that because that's reality. But we also want to allow them to develop a whole set of who they are away from that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what those aspects of therapy might look like. And this is coming from my book, Paths to Recovery After Abuse and Trauma, which of course you're encouraged to read as part of your coursework and all of this. The first step I would do with an individual is to help them practice self-respect. And that self-respect comes in terms of words and kindness, emotions, motivations, and we do a lot of different interventions that are associated to self-respect. Some of the work we've done so far, just talking about victim identification, as you've noticed, is about being able to respect why you might adhere to that identity and respect the process of shifting from victim to recovery, and to also respect your physiology and the complexity of that. So that's all about respect. So in addition, I'd also teach them how to do self-soothing. And self-soothing techniques are related to movement, sound, quantity of stress, quality of stimulations, and certain interventions that I would use with neurobiofeedback. And that gets me into the next thing is that there are biofeedback and neurobiofeedback tools that I use all the time with individuals. My favorite are the Muse, the NeuroSky, Wild Divine, and the EM, or the EM wave. And these have also been used with soldiers, with PTSDs, with survivors of traumatization, because these are ways of taking your brain wave patterns and teaching you how to move your brain wave patterns to optimize relaxation, optimize concentration and attention, or optimize creative energy, so that you begin to feel how you can shift yourself. And there are a lot of wonderful applications that I also use with individuals. So these are apparatus, these are EEGs. The Muse is the least complicated to use, very easy software as well that you can put on your phone. And it's very lightweight, it's durable, you can put it in your briefcase, and for the most part you're not going to damage it. The NeuroSky is not quite as comfortable on the head, but it has so many more pieces of software currently and a lot of really fun toys that help you be able to exercise the purposefulness of your brain, so you begin to experience what it's like to re-engage your ability to think and memorize and analyze and make things happen creatively or energetically, including being able to relax and chill out and just zone and meditate. That state of being able to shift gives you so much power of control. Now, I also do this with biofeedback equipment, and the two that I use are Wild Divine and EM Wave. EM Wave actually is related to HeartMath, and HeartMath uses these bits of equipment with soldiers a lot, where it teaches them how to use breath and meditation, mindful thinking, in terms of being able to regulate the heart, and so that the space between each rhythm, each beat, is congruent. So it's the rhythm. And you'll notice that when you have been a victim, you've lost your rhythm, because it's someone else's impact on you that now is in control of your rhythm. It's these sudden flashbacks, sudden nightmares, sudden shock, sudden startled responses, sudden memories that kind of intrude, and they feel like they take you out of yourself and into whatever those experiences are, much like the trauma and abuse you experienced, where you're responding to someone else creating something that's horrifying for you. So to move yourself back into deliberately being able to create your own control of your own physiology is really, really a wonderful tool. And along with that is Wild Divine, which integrates your galvanic skin responses and your mind, your mental processes, and your breathing, related also to the same heart rhythm, the confluence of your heart that you have with EM Wave. And it's a very imaginative program, and they've just upgraded it. As soon as it comes out, I'm going to get a hold of it and spread the word, because it's a very wonderful tool that I wish many people would use and get a hold of to be able to use on their own as well as in therapy. So that would be part of the therapy. But also part of the therapy are a lot of different types of therapies I use. Some of them are rediscovering the self. Some of them are cathartic and reenactment of what went on. Sharing of the narrative is very important for the brain. Some of them are about having the victim identification and really understanding what that is about respectfully. Some of the work in the therapies are trying to pick the person out of a very embedded, ingrained identification with all their pain and all their torture, and that the only thing that they have become is that person, that victim. And they've for years, decades, never been able to stop being that victim. And so some of the work is to shift them, literally lift them out of that and create another realm for them to start building in. I don't know if you're familiar with the Minecraft game, where individuals are creating these geometric cities and houses and landscapes and machinery, and merely all they're doing is they're creating it out of the way they're clicking on the screen in various pieces and tools. It's the same way we're picking an individual out of their victimization, literally moving them over here and say, we know that there's this magnetic attraction, this familiarity, this similarity. You know this, you share this has been your identity. This has been all your identity. This is what you share with people. This is what gives you meaning and purpose and authenticity. And if they have rigidly gotten there, and we're not just talking about in the beginning phases of recovery, rigidly gotten there and failed to try to move over here, then we know they are victim looping. So I literally move them out and shift them to start creating this world. And initially, it's all imagination. It's all fantasy. It's all question. It's all exploration. It's all unfamiliar territory. And some of it may be bringing bits and pieces of themselves forward that they can use in this new world. But it's very much about building a new world, and that reconstructive process is relevant. Another type of therapy related to reconstructive work is when a part of their personality was developed and then it got interrupted by the trauma abuse, we actually go back and kind of reinstate our connection prior to the abuse, and then help their personality, their brain, their body actually go through healthy developmental processes. So this developmental approach that was circumvented or destroyed or stopped or distorted because of the abuse or trauma they have, so that they can shift into like, oh, this is me developing in a healthy sort of way. And that's a complex therapy as well, but very, very important. Other types of therapies I'm looking through here just to make sure that I cover most of them. The Rogerian empathy approach is really important because you're developing the emotional rapport between you and all the different aspects of the person, including the part that lived through what they lived through. And for an individual to see eye to eye and emotion to emotion, to experience and know that someone's there resonating when it may never have been witnessed, observed, discussed, shared, openly expressed, is sometimes very important. And this to me is kind of like empathic surgery. This is like going in and taking the gangrene out of someone's leg. This is like going in there and feeling it with them while you're doing the surgery, and seeing how the poison got in there, understanding the poison, and trying to at the same time put the healing in there, at the same time take it out, and at the same time respect the narrative behind why all that poison got there. Again, it's very tricky work, but very important and very, very helpful. Another thing that I would like you to consider is also, in moving away from being a victim, is to start thinking about the healing process. Now, the very word healing means that there's been complications, but nonetheless, it's a healing. It's a consciousness that I have to figure out what healing feels like. And right now, to the best of my ability, I can imagine healing feels like this. So how do we approximate or create that experience in the moment? So you're shifting now, what does healing feel like, which is a part of the recovery. What is healing like? And for some individuals, the word healing becomes in and of itself a paradigm with which they can look at, because it's very much like Western medicine, or being nursed, or having an illness and getting over it and being able to recover, breaking a leg and going through the various processes, including physical therapy, to be able to walk again. So they can conceptualize of, oh yeah, this broken thing happened to me and I got broken, but things can heal and I can learn to walk again in new ways. That encourages people to practice the newness of their new leg, so to speak, even though it hurts and they still feel crippled or it's still painful. And that encourages the healing of the bones and the healings of the muscles and tendons and the nerve endings and so forth and so on. It's very similar also. So I'm bringing up these different types of interventions so that you know that there are ways of coming out of being a victim, and lots of different ways. And we will spend a section on talking about psychotherapies, one of which will be EMDR, another one would be EFT and tapping, another one will be understanding psychoanalysis and the different variations of that, another one will be cognitive behavioral therapy. All of these different types of therapies, which are really organized and defined for you in the book Paths to Recovery After Abuse and Trauma, so that you'll be able to say, okay, there's so many ways that I don't have to stay stuck in being a victim. And that's important, because one reason you might have stayed stuck in being a victim is that you don't know how to be anything else. And of course, this whole program is about being something else, but you have to realize, I've gotten myself so into this identity of being a victim that I can't even see my way out. And I'm shedding light on that so you know, okay, I have to start picking up the tools and moving out of the cave and getting back into life. Okay, that's it for this particular one, and we'll go on to the next class. Bye.